Okay, so I've had a couple of questions about TinkerCAD and Vase Mode and alternatives that might work um, better, and I just want to go through a couple of these things just real fast. So, first of all, TinkerCAD can work uh, for Vase Mode. The thing is that you don't have a whole lot of control over some of the angles that you need to be careful with. And what I mean by that is, one of the things we looked at in class is that if an angle is too steep, one way or the other, then Vase Mode's going to work or not work. So, for instance, here the the angle, if we look at it kind of from the side, I'll turn on orthographic mode. If we look at it from the side, if you think about this from slices, the difference between one slice to the next is going to be pretty minimal. But if we shrink this down, this is a steeper angle. So if it prints one layer and then moves up a little bit to print the next layer, if the distance between those two layers is wider than the 0.4 millimeter nozzle, then it's just going to spit plastic out into nowhere. There's nothing to build on the previous layer. So you probably don't want to go less than like a 45-degree angle. So try to keep, go back to your geometry days and try to keep in mind like a 45-degree angle is halfway. It's a kind of like a perfect diagonal like this. Or thereabouts. I guess this would be because it's 10 high and this is this length because this is 20, then it means that that's a 10 high length, that's a 10 high, and that's going to be then make a 45-degree angle there. But if you could stick around like a 60-degree angle, which is going to be steeper like this, that's going to be better. So why I think Tinker can work is because you can still layer stuff up, right? You could put this in here to where it kind of bumps out and gives your Vase Mode a little bit of I don't know, a flare or something, but then look, you gotta, and this is where TinkerCAD gets tricky, is that angle now is far different than the 60 degrees you want, and that would give you a failure. Now it'll probably recover at some point, kind of in there, like the print that I showed you in class. But this is the tricky part with TinkerCAD, is that you lose a lot of this kind of fine grain mechanisms for angles. Again, this is going to get too steep at the top of your curve, so you do have to be careful not only on the bottom of the curves, but also tops. So this area would start to fail again, and you get a hole in your vase there too. So it would be possible to use TinkerCAD, if you do things that kind of keep away from those steeper angles, but it is a little bit trickier. And I've mentioned Fusion in the past, but you could do something like Onshape. So if you go to cad.onshape.com and sign up for a free educational license, then that'll get you into this, where we can create a new document. And I'm going to say base test 1. Just be aware of the fact that all of your models in Onshape are public. And so then in this case, we want to create a sketch, and I'd probably create it on the front of this plate. There we go. So we'll move to front. And if I created a line that just went straight up, that's 2 millimeters, right? So it's not very big, and came over and down to here and then back over. Now I've got a solid sketch that I can do something with. So we'll finish that sketch. And now I can create a revolve. This is going to be probably the most common thing to do. And then the revolve axis, you'd want to pick your center point. And now I've got a cylinder. Not very exciting, but it would work for a Vase Mode type sketch. So then we can always go back into our sketch here and add in a little bit more flare. Like if we deleted this one and said, okay, I want to come from here and kind of come in and out a little bit, and then finish that. Now it's going to revolve that. Now, here's where, again, just because we're using Onshape, it doesn't make this whole process super simple, because we can see we've got much steeper angles than what we really want for Vase Mode. So we'd want to go back into our sketch and like kind of tweak some of these things so that we try to get like a fun shape still, but it doesn't have quite so many steep angles. So we can finish that. And so now we get, you know, something a little bit more interesting. We can go back into the sketch if we wanted to, and just need to find it. So this is a fillet. So if we put a fillet on here, we can curve these. Right, so now this is going to add some curves to our sketch. There we go. And we can kind of tweak some of those a little bit and hit enter. And now when we revolve that, now we get something that's a little, you know, a little curvier. But again, you still do want to keep in mind what, when it slices it, what some of those angles are going to be, because when you start to introduce curves, you can run into other issues. So that's one option for creating a Vase Mode type object. I'm gonna hide that. So if we go back, I'll just go back to home. We'll create another document. Base test 02. Because in this one, what I wanted to do was show you how to do something called lofts. And lofts can give you some really complex and really interesting shapes. I'll start by creating a sketch on the kind of this top surface. And here I'm just going to create a circle and finish that sketch, because that's all I want to do for now. And then we need to offset surface. There we go. So I'm going to create flat surface. Okay. And I want to create that. I'm creating an offset surface 1 inch, because remember we've got 5 inches to work with. So we'll do that. And, oh, no, I didn't want to do that. Sorry. Okay, it took me a second. So what we want to do is create a new plane, and I'm going to base it off of the top plane, where we'll shift it 1 inch, and we'll hit OK. And so now I can create a new sketch on this plane. And here we'll do an inscribed polygon. If we do this, we can kind of do something that twists a little bit, and we can pick how many sides we want, and we'll fix that. So now we've got a circle and a hexagon, and we'll create one more offset plane just so I can kind of show you this again. 1 inch again. Create another sketch on that plane. Go to the top view. We'll do another inscribed polygon just because they're kind of easy to do. We'll rotate it a little bit and maybe add in a couple more faces. And now we have enough to at least demonstrate what a loft is. So now when I create a loft, you're going to pick your different sketches. And you can see there that it actually is going to start to create that geometry based on those. And it has to make some approximations on kind of what you meant, especially when going from 6 to 8. If we wanted to, though, we could come back to this one and say, okay, instead of 8, I want to keep it with 6. but because they're rotated, you can see it's different than the previous one. Now you get this kind of twisting feature. So that can be kind of a cool, really easy way to make intricate kind of vase designs. And you just add in a couple more planes, add in a couple more sketches, and now you've got a vase that is probably a little bit more kind of visually appealing than putting a few different shapes together in TinkerCAD. But you also then have the ability to kind of better see, okay, I can tell those angles are not different enough where, or too drastic. Again, we're going from layer to layer, so they shouldn't be too drastic. So it should print okay. And then when you're done with this, you can always I think you can close the document, and then you can right click on here and share, I think is how you want to download it. No, not like that. Okay, so I was looking for the export option. So once you've got your shape, you right click on it in the parts list over here and say export. And then this is going to give you your different formats. You can do 3MF to go straight to the slicer or to upload or STL. So I'll do 3MF here. And we'll call this MD Vase 01. And you want to probably use fine here. Otherwise, it won't be smooth enough when it prints. And then the options is download. Yeah. So we'll export it. And then that should, yeah, there we go. Should download it here. And so if I open that, it's going to open on my computer for now. It's opening in Prusa Slicer, but it's fine if you've got Onshape. And so now we have it in Prusa Slicer. And if you go to print settings and search for Vase Mode or Spiral Vase. Oh, here it is. So it's kind of flagging it with this arrow. And if you check this, it's going to say, hey, there's some other things that are important to do. And so you hit yes to those, so that now when you slice it using this button down here, then that will slice it in Vase Mode. And we can see that we don't have any blue, I don't know if that's blue or purple, but blue up in this part of the model is going to imply that there's not enough material below it for the next layer, for the blue layer. So this looks like a pretty good model that should print well in Vase Mode. So just keep an eye, and that's where the slicers can be helpful for just checking your design and making sure that you don't have any steep overhangs. And then if you're in, if you have Orca Slicer and you've downloaded that file like we just did, I'll open this in Orca, and it looks similar, but where you find Vase Mode is a little different. That's just over here in the search in presets, and then you'll type in Vase Mode or Spiral Vase, and okay, it's kind of flashing down here. It's really, in my mind, it's harder to find that. You turn that on, you hit yes, and now when you go to preview here, now again you should see preview with no blue lines. So that's how to use both of those slicers to kind of validate your design. And one thing about Orca that I do want to mention, if you wanted to download Orca Slicer, this orcaslicer.net is not actually Orca Slicer. I found out this is not where you want to go. They don't control what software is hosted or downloaded on this website. So you want to go to this GitHub which is an interesting way to deliver your products or your software, because normally this is used for showing the source code for a project. But then if you come over here to releases, you can click on the official release, which is 2.1.1 currently, but the beta is coming out soon. And then download go all the way down to the bottom, and you'll find these are the programs to download. So if you have a Windows computer, you'll use this Windows installer. If you have a Mac, you'll most likely use this Mac x86 64. Don't use the ARM one. This one is the one you want to use. And if you want to download Prusa slicer, you can just Google Prusa slicer there, and pick either download for Windows, or if you have a Mac, it should do the download for Mac version. So those are the two places to go to get those slicers, and they're both free and should install easily. When they start up, they're going to ask you what kind of a printer you have. See if you can find, search for a K1C. If you do, that's the actual printer that we're using for the class. And then if you use that, it'll set all the settings so you know you're actually getting a pretty good estimate of whether it'll print on this printer. So again, look for a K1C. So I hope that's helpful and shows how to kind of use TinkerCAD, but be aware of some of the limitations, but then also how to use something like Onshape. Fusion is going to be really similar. It's going to look a little different. If people would like a Fusion demo quick on how to do like lofts or revolves, let me know, and I'll put one of those together also. Okay, good luck.